our jack-o'-lantern Halloween centerpiece. I don't know what you call this. It's just big and bold and bright, and that's what Halloween is all about. So let's get started. We're going to start with a big pumpkin pail, and I'm going to use purple because my pool noodles are going to be orange, and I don't want them both the same color. You can do whatever you want. You could even paint it a different color. And then we're going to find our skeleton hands that are the size of our pumpkin pail, and I picked these up at the Dollar Tree, and they're usually a pretty regular item there for Halloween. And we're going to see kind of right where they're going to go onto the head. And what we're going to do is you want them about halfway. These are your halfway points, so about half of the hand on there. And we're going to glue that on with our E6000. And E6000 is one of those glues that glues everything to everything. We carry the E6000 if you cannot find it. We also carry the turnkeys so that you can use this even when it starts to get lower. And I'm going to place that glue right where the hands hit the pumpkin pail. And it's kind of in the middle of the palm. You can kind of turn it around a little bit too. And I'm going to use tape, you can use masking tape or painting tape, whatever, to hold it into place while it is drying. So, kind of that middle part there, make sure that's your glue part, and we touch our hands on our table. And tape that on. Now, got my tape a little bit higher, so, because it's pushing those fingers up there, not the palm where I want that to touch. So you want to kind of make sure of that that's where you need it to be. And this doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be good. Make sure your hands are straight up. We're going to go ahead and do the second one. We want to leave these at least overnight. They always tell you it cures in 24 hours. But your E6000 is your really tough glue that glues plastic to plastic, stone, glass, things like that. So that's the reason we're using the E6000. And I get my tape ready for this guy. Go ahead and put it on there. And tape him right on there. Now, if you have your hands going, kind of make sure you're kind of gluing them both the same. Like this area right here is the part touching, or if you did the fingers more towards the top, then do the fingers more towards the top. Because we're putting the stand or the candy dish underneath it, we really want them more towards the bottom this time, so they don't look like they're exactly just kind of floating. So we're going to go ahead and let that dry for the night, and then we'll start from there. While you're waiting for your hands to dry, there's a couple other little things that we can go ahead and glue on, and I found some little rhinestones for the eyes. And if you want them more in the middle, you can tape them on, but if you don't mind them hanging right there at the bottom, that little lip will keep them in place. So again, we're using the E6000, and then I'm going to go ahead and put my little spider, glue him on, and I'm going to use him to cover up one of the holes up on top. Whatever type of spider you want, it doesn't matter. I just found some real pretty glitter ones, and I'm going to kind of put him there where he can be seen. And if you need to tape any of those on, go ahead and tape them on. If they hold in place while they're drying, that's great too.
Okay.
Once everything's glued on nice and secure, we're going to go ahead and untape it. Be careful with your spider. Be a little bit more delicate with him. When I was doing this, they didn't have any of the orange pumpkins out, and I wish they would have, because I had a purple base, and I would like that better than purple with purple. But it's not bad at all. What we're going to do next is we're going to wire it to our little candy dish base, and I'm going to use an awl. You could use an ice pick, whatever you can poke through. Just be a little bit careful. And I'm going to poke it in 4 directions. And what I want you to think about is how wide your base is. We want it a little bit. We don't want it so much up here that it doesn't catch, but we don't want it so far out here. So we're going to do it probably about like right around in there. It's about maybe 2 inches by 2 inches. Now see, we've got this part here, so we don't really want to get into that too much. What we're doing is just poking it big enough to get our wire through. If you want to do this before you glue your hands on, so you don't have to worry about your hands, that's probably a good idea. And we'll go ahead and get our wire going. And I am just going to wire this in 2 different batches. And think about where it lands and where your spider lands and all that kind of fun stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to stick it through the holes. And I'm going to have to glue my hand back. But I wanted it flat when I did it. So maybe puncture the holes and then glue the hands on and then wire it on. Like I always tell you, I leave these things in the video so you know not what to do. Once you've got your wire through, stick it into whatever web it fits. And we're going to tie those off on both sides. And then go ahead and trim that wire so it doesn't show with your wire cutters. Make sure you have lots of them on. Make sure it's nice and secure. I'll use my little hand here. And I've got my spider in the front. And then once you've got that all on, all we're going to do is simply take one of our ribbons. The spider ribbon that I have on my other one I picked up at Walmart, it is glow in the dark. And it's really cool when you turn the lights off. And we're not going to tie the knot, we're just going to loop it over. And I'm going to use my pipe cleaner. You don't want this too long, so you've got it going there, so we want it to go that way. It's all over the table. So we're just, I probably only need about half that pipe cleaner. Just going to tie it just like that. And I'm going to hot glue a spider on right in the middle, just to kind of cover that knot, or where the knot should be. And we're going to stick this guy right in here and pull that nice and tight so he's up against and kind of tucked in under the pumpkin. The first thing I'm going to do is fold my pool noodle in half, and I'm going to use a serrated knife, like a bread knife, and we're just going to cut it straight down the middle. You could do a big one if you wanted, but that was just too much for me, so I did it in 2s. And the first thing I'm going to do is tape off an area, because you have to have a base. So if you were putting it into a jack-o'-lantern, you want to think about how much was going to go into the bottom, and tape that area off so you don't cut past that. And I'm just using painter's tape. You could use any type of tape that comes off easily from your pool noodle. I took it up to the top of my pool noodle and I divided it into 3 sections as evenly as I could get those. And then the next thing I did is I took my tape again and starting on one of those sections and just bringing it around as we go and try to keep it evenly distributed, meaning don't do it too tight. These sections should be about the same space apart. And if you kind of just hold your tape and turn your noodle, it should be pretty close. And I try to just use the same piece of tape for all 3 cuts. So we're going to cut it 3 times. And I cut it above the noodle. And I tried different things to cut it with. Now, first of all, I found that my craft scissors weren't big enough. They didn't work real well. So I did some with my craft scissors, but I also liked my box knife. And you need it thick enough that it goes through the noodle to the middle of our noodle, but doesn't go any further than that. And I tried to keep it straight up and down as I'm working. I'm kind of working backwards here. Try not to cut your tape because then you have the blue on the noodle, but try and keep this as straight up and down as you possibly can. And I have to go back and clean mine up with my scissors after I'm done. And if you find a better way to cut this, more power to you. I just really enjoyed these. And at the end of the pool season, there was only orange noodles left, and that's kind of what put the idea into my head. But you could think about using green and purple and different things too. Now, if you didn't go all the way through in a couple of sections, just kind of trim those, open those up. But you should only have a couple here and there, otherwise you're not cutting that deep enough. In fact, I probably have more than I should. That should open pretty easily. There we go. All the way down. Okay, now we're going to take our tape off and we're going to move it over to our next section. And I tried using the wider tape and it was too wide. If you found a tape that was just the right length for all 3 sections, because that's probably about 1.5 inches, I'm not quite sure of that. Sometimes I do a little bit more and a little bit less. Now this looks about 1/2 inch up from the last section that I did. So again, you want to keep that as even as you possibly can. And I've done some centerpieces with the noodles in them. I've done some outdoor decorations, all kinds of fun things that you can do with them. So again, we're going to do the same thing here. Once you get the hang of it, it's going to go faster. But again, like I said, try to keep straight up and down as you can. Don't go on a curve or an angle. Now that we've cut the second one, we'll do the same thing, and it should be starting to get it into pieces. And I'm not perfect. And don't worry about that being perfect at all. And on my third one, I just went right down the middle. I didn't even tape it. I just tried to do it right down the middle. That's up to you. So this wide piece that I had left, you can do it with the knife or you can do it with the scissors. I just took it and I opened it up and I just cut it down the middle. harder than it is. Don't make it perfect. It's not supposed to be perfect. This is Halloween. We're supposed to have jagged edges and spooky stuff. You can clean it up if you want to. You don't have to. Just get this real fun, playful. Great because you can put it outdoors. It's weatherproof. You don't have to worry about it. You can save it till next year. I don't think the little critters will eat it when it's in storage. And we're just going to unwrap it. And there you go. Once we've cut our pool noodles, this was 1.5 pool noodles. I was putting 4 in there, but it was so compressed, I think I actually like 3 better. And probably drop a couple of rocks in the bottom of the bucket first, just to make it more durable so it doesn't knock over or move around easy. And then you can glue little items onto the pool noodle. I would use your E6000 and I would tape them on, like put it on the body and then tape it on so it doesn't move. But you want them light enough that it doesn't, the weight doesn't bring the noodle down over time. So like little spiders would be really easy to do, and that's not going to affect it. You could have all of these spiders everywhere. You could do some smaller bats up on the ends of the noodles, and that would be fun because then they kind of look like they're all flying. So there's just a bunch of things that you can do to make this real spookular and spectacular. So those are a bunch of ideas that you can add to that. I'd really love to see what you come up with. If you ever have any questions, you can email me at art@miriamjoy.com. Give us a thumbs up, tell us you like our video, and subscribe so we can continue to grow. Be safe this Halloween.